President of the United States.
Well, you're not going to use the story, Mr. Scott?
No, sir. This is the West, sir. When the legend becomes fact, print the legend.
James Stewart Westerns. There's no list of Western movies without mentioning Jimmy Stewart, one of the greats of the golden Hollywood era, and a damn good dude. There is no denying the impact that the American Western had on movie history. The classic cowboy adventures started a pattern of romance, action, and dialogue that many Western films still use. Jimmy Stewart, affected the genre almost as much as the genre changed the movie industry. The nice guy image he cultivated in other movie genres disappeared when he started in Westerns, playing a very different character. His tough but relatable characters made some of the best Westerns ever made, setting a standard for all Western films going forward. No list about Westerns is complete without Stewart, so I made this list dedicated to Jimmy. Here are Jimmy Stewart's Westerns. If you like this video, you can see all my other videos in my channel. The link is in the description. Now let's get to it. This is in chronological order. If I've missed any, please let me know in the comments. Apologies up front for any mispronunciations of names. We'll start with 1936's Rosem Marie. Jimmy had a small role in this one. An incognito opera singer falls for a policeman who has been assigned to track down her fugitive brother. Director, W.S. Van Dyke. Stars, Jeanette MacDonald, Nelson Eddy, Reginald Owen, Ellen Jones, and James Stewart as John Flower. Next, Of Human Hearts, 1938. Ethan Wilkins is a poor and honest man who ministers to the human soul, while his son Jason yearns to be a doctor, helping people in this earthly realm. Director, Clarence Brown. Stars, Walter Houston, James Stewart as Jason Wilkins, Gene Reynolds, Beulah Bondi. Destri Rides Again, 1939. The opening states the story as suggested by Max Brand's novel, Destri Rides Again, but the movie is mostly different. It bears no resemblance to the 1932 adaptation of the novel starring Tom Mix, which is often retitled as Justice Rides Again. Deputy Sheriff Destri tames the town of Bottleneck, including saloon singer Frenchie. Director, George Marshall. Stars, Marlene Dietrich, James Stewart as Tom Destri Jr., Misha Orr, Charles Winninger. Going forward to the 50s now, with Winchester 73, 1950. A cowboy's obsession with a stolen rifle leads to a bullet-ridden odyssey through the American West. Director, Anthony Mann. Stars, James Stewart as Lynn McAdam, Shelley Winters, Dan Daria, Stephen McNally. The 50s and 60s were the busiest time for Stewart in Westerns. Next, Broken Arrow, 1950. Tom Jeffords tries to make peace between settlers and Apaches in Arizona Territory. Director, Delmer Daves. Stars, James Stewart as Tom Jeffords, Jeff Chandler, Deborah Paget, Basil Ruisdale.
I started into the canyon.
Next came Bend of the River, 1952, when a town boss confiscates homesteaders' supplies after gold is discovered nearby. A tough cowboy risks his life to try and get it to them. Director, Anthony Mann. Stars, James Stewart as Glenn McClintock, Rock Hudson, Arthur Kennedy, Julie Adams.
Some night I will be.
The Naked Spur, 1953. A bounty hunter, trying to bring a murderer to justice, is forced to accept the help of two less than trustworthy strangers. Director, Anthony Mann. Stars, James Stewart as Howard Kemp, Janet Leigh, Robert Ryan, Ralph
You were
Meeker.
hired to do a job and you were paid.
Meantime.
The Far Country, 1954.
Say
A
thanks.
self-minded adventurer locks horns with a crooked lawman
That's a term I
while
seldom
driving cattle
use.
to Dawson. Director, Anthony Mann. Stars,
Were
James
you
Stewart
thinking of
as
using
Jeff
that?
Webster,
It can't make you
Ruth
understand,
Brown,
can it,
Corinne
Ben? I don't
Calvert,
need other
Walter
people.
Brennan.
I don't need help. I can take care of me. And in a pinch, I can take care of you, too.
The Man from Laramie, 1955. Newcomer Will Lockhart defies the local cattle baron and his sadistic son by working for one of their oldest rivals. Director, Anthony Mann. Stars, James Stewart as Will Lockhart, Anthony Kennedy, Donald Crisp, Kathy O'Donnell. Night Passage, 1957.
Making up a supply
A
train
fired
in the
railroad
yard.
man is rehired and
want you to
trusted to
ride
carry
it.
a $10,000 payroll in secret,
$10,000
even though
in
he
your
is suspected of being connected to outlaws.
Pretty big gamble
Director,
on a man that
James
gave
Nielsen.
his horse to a
Stars,
thief, isn't it?
James Stewart as
A man
Grant
likes to know his
McLean,
woman will back him when
Audie
he's
Murphy,
down, and you did.
Dan Deria,
Maybe for the
Diane
good of his
Foster.
soul. It's been a long time since you heard that word.
You'll get that money even if you have to kill your own brother.
Okay, we're in the 60s now with Two Rode Together, 1961. A corrupt marshal is pressured by his army friend into negotiating the release of white captives of the Comanches, but finds that their reintegration into society has its consequences. Director, John Ford. Stars, James Stewart as Marshal Guthrie McCabe,
Hang on,
Richard
senorita.
Woodmark, Shirley
Here we
Jones,
go!
Linda Crystal. Maybe one of Stewart's most well-known movies, The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance, 1962. A senator returns to a western town for a funeral of an old friend and tells the story of his origins. Director, John Ford. Stars, James Stewart as Ransom Stoddard, John Wayne, Vera Miles, Lee Marvin. How the West Was Won, 1962. A family saga covering several decades of westward expansion in the 19th century, including the Gold Rush, the Civil War, and the building of the railroads. Directors, John Ford. Henry Hathaway, George Marshall, Richard Thorpe. Stars, James Stewart as Linus Rawlings, John Wayne, Gregory Peck, Henry Fonda. Cheyenne Autumn, 1964. The Cheyenne, tired of broken US government promises, head for their ancestral lands, but a sympathetic cavalry officer is tasked to bring them back to their reservation. Director, John Ford. Stars, Richard Woodmark, Carol Baker, Carl Malden, Sal Mineo, James Stewart as Wyatt Earp. Shenandoah, 1965. During the Civil War, a Virginian father and his family vow to remain neutral, but one of the sons is captured by Union soldiers, sending the farmer to his rescue. Director, Andrew V. McLaughlin. Stars, James Stewart as Charlie, Doug McClure, Glenn Corbett, Patrick Wayne. The Rare Breed, 1966. An English woman and her daughter enlist the aid of a cowboy to try and get their hardy hornless bull to mate with the longhorns of Texas, but have to overcome greedy criminals and the natural elements. Director, Andrew V. McLaughlin. Stars, James Stewart as Sam Bulldog Burnett, Maureen O'Hara, Brian Keith, Juliet Mills. Fire Creek, 1968. A peace-loving, part-time sheriff in a small town of Fire Creek must take a stand when a gang of vicious outlaws take over his town. Director, Vincent McEverty. Stars, James Stewart as Johnny Cobb, Henry Fonda, Inga Stevens, Gary Lockwood. The last of his westerns in the
Buried her
60s,
6 weeks to the day
Bandero,
after apoplectic.
1968. Mace Bishop,
was
James
raining.
Stewart, masquerades as a hangman in order to save his
Well, what
outlaw
about this
brother,
big sheriff
D,
in this bunch?
Dean Martin,
Think he's gonna
from the
cross the
gallows.
border?
Runs to Mexico chased by Sheriff July Johnson's, George Kennedy's
It seems to
posse,
me like you could stand
and
a
fights
good
against
scrubbing
Mexican
yourself.
bandits. Director
Water washes
Andrew
away a
V.
man's
McLaughlin.
protection.
Stars
That's millions
James
into
Stewart
his body.
as Mace
I'm
Bishop,
too damn old to take
Dean
chances.
Martin,
Well,
Raquel
what you're
Welch,
saying is the truth.
George
You
Kennedy.
must be the best protected man in town.
We're coming to the last few Western movies Stewart made now. The Cheyenne Social Club, 1970. An aging cowboy finds to his embarrassment that the successful business he has inherited from his brother is actually a house of prostitutes.
I mean, you don't
Director
think this is
Gene
all-
Kelly. Stars James Stewart as John O'Hanlon, Henry Fonda, Shirley Jones, Sue Ann Langdon. For his last Western, In the Shootist, 1976. A dying gunfighter spends his last days
Examine me
looking
and
for a
I'll
way
tell
to
you.
die with a minimum of
You don't
pain
trust me.
and a maximum of
Doc, you
dignity.
saved my life.
Director
Why
Don
don't you
Siegel.
just say it?
Stars
Flat out.
John Wayne, Lauren
right.
Bacall, Ron Howard,
Have a cancer.
James Stewart as Dr. Hostetler. I'll add this last one just for fun. An American Tale. Fievel Goes West, 1991. Fievel's family decide to move out to the west, unaware that they are falling into a trap perpetrated by a smooth-talking cat. Directors Phil Nibelink, Simon Wells. Stars James Stewart as the voice of Wiley, John Cleese, Amy Irving, Philip Glasser. Again, apologies for any mistakes with mispronunciations of names. I'm doing my best. I hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know what you think in the comments. I appreciate likes, shares, and subscribers. They help me a lot. Also hit the notification button to get my new videos. Bye for now.
Interesting facts about famous people.